All right. Hey, y'all. This is Lori from Reed's Bookstore. We are here talking with Taylor Bruce, who is the creator of these Wildsam travel guides we've been telling you about. So thank you, Taylor, for being here today.
Awesome to be here. I wish I was in Tupelo.
I know. Well, it's kind of a rainy, dreary day today. And you are in Austin, correct?
I live in Austin, Texas. That's right.
Yes, great. Well, we've been telling people about the really cool guides that you have put out, and I personally, I think I told you we went to Yellowstone this summer, and we used the Yellowstone guide often, and we loved it. It was so great. We learned a
There's a
bunch of things.
there's a lot of I feel like there's a lot of people in sort of our extended circle that are doing Yellowstone this summer. I don't know if it's like sort of national parks or in the wavelength right now or not. But
Post-COVID thing. I know I have never really known anybody to go much. And this year alone, I mean, I've had like 10 people, oh, we're going. So I have actually given it away to a couple of people and said, hey, you should get this. So they were excited to have it.
Awesome.
Well, tell us just a minute about just a little bit about yourself. Like what kind of prompted you to start these?
So I grew up in a small town in Georgia,
Okay.
smaller than Tupelo,
Mm-hmm.
and love to read, books. We weren't a big family, traveling, but I did love to read, love stories. And after college, I ended up at Southern Living magazine, and
Oh,
I spent 3 years on staff at Southern Living. I did a fair amount of travel writing and sort of art and culture, food, and so sort of the fabric of a place was kind of my job, and finding those people that sort of make a place special, and the history and stories that kind of animate what's unique about a city, a town, a region, a park. And about 10 years ago, I just got an itch to create something that was the voice of that thing was a little bit more personal to me,
mhm.
and woven parts of storytelling that I found interesting. And so at the time I was living in New York City, and I just sort of like, as a passion project, I created this field guide to Nashville.
Yeah,
Nashville, Tennessee was the first one.
Nashville.
You guys were living in Nashville at the time. You
Yeah,
probably got an early copy.
we did. Yeah, we have one at home.
And so the book, I mean, there was no grand plan. There was not a business strategy or sort of like an opportunity on the whiteboard sort of situation. It was very much I just wanted a book like this to exist. And I worked with some great friends who were writers and musicians and artists and chefs in Nashville to
Hmm.
put that first book together. I think, one of the number one things was I wanted it to feel like locals made it, that it was really true to the local experience, and enough so that a local would want to own it.
Hmm.
And that's sort of a thing that I mean, you would not necessarily think about buying a travel guide to your own town
Right.
necessarily. And so these books do that. Because it's not just a travel guide, it's also sort of this tribute, to the place and its history, and the people that make it special. So that was the origin story. Made that first book very much bootstrap operation. Boxes of books under my dining room table, and fast forward almost 10 years, and we've done 35 books. They're all about American places, so cities, road trips, national parks, sort of those destinations that feel iconic to the U.S.
Right.
And they all sort of share that same kind of early common origin, which is storytelling and the local perspective.
Yeah. And what the size was unique. I remember when it first came out, we're like, oh, that's cool. I mean, it feels, I guess, portable was that kind of the idea. And um, the format is just really cool too. What kind of went into the design of that? Like just something you liked and didn't see out there or?
So there's a few things. There was certainly like an analog throwback aesthetic.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
nostalgia is something we lean into.
Yeah.
We love sort of the nostalgia, the feeling of nostalgia, and so something that feels like it. When you glance at it, you don't know, was that made 100 years ago or was that made today? That was sort of the look and feel we were going for. from a size standpoint, yeah, we want it to be sort of back pocket. We didn't want it. The main thing is we didn't want the books to be exhaustive. We didn't want them to be everything and 400 pages of every restaurant under the sun. That's not what, the Wildsam reader, they don't need every restaurant. They just need you to sketch out. These are the 10 that you should think about,
Right.
like a friend would do.
Yeah.
And so the book should be small because it's not trying to be everything. And then I would say the other big part of the format is there are no photographs.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think we're probably the only travel guide that doesn't have photos. And we did that on purpose. We wanted it to, so we hire a local artist for every book.
Yeah.
And they do illustrations. And two things. One, illustrations are fun. Two, they have sort of this artful quality that feels almost like something that's timeless.
Yeah.
And then three, we, with these handy phones we carry in our pockets, we have access to thousands of pictures every day.
Yeah,
so why do we need to put pictures? So
yeah, that's a good point. And yeah, because I think didn't Evie do, our friend Evie Coates?
Yep, Evie Coates, an artist in Nashville, did that. Yeah, so that's one of the more fun parts of doing these books is we get to, we meet locals of all sorts, but to tap into a local artist's world, and it's so fun. There's so many incredible artists out there. That's a fun way to get to know a place.
Well, that's another question. How do you find the locals? Like I noticed when we went to Yellowstone, there was a we'll just like even the stories in the back. Like, how do you find the people? How do you find the recommendations? Is that kind of a word of mouth, or you just use connections, or how do you find your content?
Yeah, so it's there's certainly some strategy to it. There's also some some happenstance. But from the strategy thing that we do with every book, we hire local writers and editors. Mm-hmm. So we have a team of in-house editors that manage the projects. But when we do a book about a place, so like we've just done a second edition New Orleans book.
Okay.
And so we have a few writers in New Orleans, that have helped out. And so that's kind of our core where we're learning from people that really know it and love it. It's not someone flying in and spending a long weekend figuring out the city. And then we sort of have this kind of extended circle of people that we will weave into the conversation, and we kind of catalog everyone. So if let's say we meet someone that owns a record shop in New Orleans, we're going to ask them all sorts of fun questions about their neighborhood, about music, where to see jazz, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. We do that, a couple dozen times with different folks that live there, and we're sort of cataloging all this information, and kind of winnowing it together, and this real digestible, curated form.
Wow.
And so, and some of it's friends of friends. So now we're doing, I remember in the early days we did the Nashville book. A few folks that helped us with the Nashville book, and they caught wind of, okay, our next book is Austin. And they're like, you should talk to my friend in Austin.
Right.
And so,
right.
there's a lot of ways to sort of meet good people. The main thing is we want to meet folks that are doing neat work in that place, that love where they live.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what really makes it unique about it. And like you said, I love that it's not exhaustive. It's just kind of a highlight reel and something you can enjoy, and you don't feel like, oh, if you don't have this prescribed trip that you have to follow or you're going to miss things. It's just like, hey, let's find some cool stuff and enjoy it along the way. So
there's certainly a balance. Like I think part of the fun of travel is discovery. And I certainly don't hop on a plane and land with no plan. Like I know where I'm staying. I probably have a reservation or two, but it's also kind of fun to sort of just plant yourself in a neighborhood and start walking.
Right. Yeah.
And if you see something that looks cool, like you go in, and so our hope is that the books, they give you enough information to sort of have a great trip, but they leave room for you to discover.
Yes, that's a great point. Okay. So you got, tell me what's new. I know you have a Gulf Coast that's out, which we don't have in yet. That one sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. So we put out a bunch of fun books in the last few months. We were really thinking about this summer, and this summer is a unique one after the last year that everyone's had. So the three books that were sort of front and center
Yeah.
We did a book about the Colorado Rockies.
Yeah.
And that's a huge destination for lots of folks. We're based in Texas. Folks make the trip to Colorado from Texas. It's sort of an annual migration in the summer. But it's Colorado in the summer is fantastic. A lot of folks think about it as a skiing destination. Summertime is just beautiful. So we did Colorado.
Yeah.
We did a book about Cape Cod, which
Yes.
is another really fun sort of iconic American spot. It's very much that book is very much connected to being on the water, sailing, and all the beach towns, all that fun stuff. And then the Gulf Coast, as you mentioned, that's been our bestseller this year. That book came out in late May.
Yeah.
And it's really, what's really cool about that one. I mean, I grew up going, y'all's customers probably similar to me, going down to the Florida panhandles or even like Gulf Shores in Alabama was sort of this rite of passage. And there's a lot of folks that think they know the Gulf Coast, but there's so many beautiful towns on the Mississippi coast. And then even like beyond the 30A and Panama City into that Florida's Big Bend. And so that book, it starts in Louisiana and goes all the way down to, like Sanibel Island, the Tampa area, and just exploring like what is sort of the Gulf Coast, America's third sea, as they call it. And it's been fun to see people's reaction. I think folks, there's not really a book quite like that out there.
Yeah, that one would be particularly useful too, because as I feel like every time we go down there, the areas that get really, really crowded. And so it's kind of like, okay, where can we find to go that is a little more off the beaten path, a little more interesting, So.
Or even we've had some people reach out, folks that are driving to a destination. Let's say they always go to a place like Watercolor or Rosemary Beach. The book is sort of helpful for the drive too.
Yeah.
So depending on where you're coming from, it's going to allow you to, even if it's just kind of that, one thing to do on the way that's a little bit different, or even a day trip. Like, hey, it's day 5 of a 7-day trip. Like, let's drive an hour to a different town and see this cool state park, or eat at this cool shrimp shack.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited about that one.
So those are the new ones. And then we've got some fun ones coming. We got 2 national park books coming in the fall, both in California. We have a Yosemite book and a Joshua Tree book.
Oh, cool.
So those would be great. And then the other one I would say that y'all's customers and readers in Tupelo might find interesting. We have another book about, based in the South, a book about bourbon country in Kentucky.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So that one's coming in November.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a good fall book. That would be cool. Oh, awesome. Well, like I said, we're everybody's been really excited about it that's seen them, and they're just so fun to look at. It's just a unique idea. And like you said, because, the thick 400-page travel guides are, that to me feels like something you can find on the internet, but this is not. This is like, I love the story. Of course, being a story person, I love the stories in the back. I love the personal profiles. It's just good work. So we're excited about them.
The other thing that we, again, going back to the early days, this wasn't necessarily, I didn't really know this was kind of what we were doing, but we created a book that's very much a gift. It's a,
yes. Mm-hmm.
So when people have a friend that's moving to a new city, these are great books to send with them. Or if you have a friend that's, looking to take a trip, they're fun to share with
they really are. Yeah.
Friends and family.
Yeah, that's a great point. I know of course, like you said, we had Nashville, and then I had one of my best friends lived in Austin. So when y'all released Austin, the second one, I sent one to her, and because like you said, it's fun and people appreciate it. Like I said, I gave a couple of the Yellowstone people, and they were so excited about it and have used it on their trips. So it's just really fun. We're really excited about it. Now, I know you have Boston. Is that new? Yep. Or is that kind of heavy?
Boston's brand new. It came out 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
That's a city that's so fun and so historic and interesting.
Awesome.
We have a Washington D.C. book that's kicking off soon. That'll come out beginning of next year.
Interesting.
And those are the 2 most recent of the cities that are this summer and beyond. We did Savannah and Santa Fe earlier this year.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, that's really cool. Well, we're happy for you and excited about what's more to come. So,
Thanks.
um,
We've got to get a Mississippi book in motion.
oh, I know. Well, I have to say the South one does not include Tupelo, American South, but that took.
We need an update.
It's got Memphis. I know that probably covered Elvis, but we have a lot of Elvis here for sure. So, well, hey, thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate that.
I appreciate it.
And we're excited to, like I said, excited to see more. And we'll just keep them coming and keep them stocked. And as people continue, I think people will continue. Now everybody's excited about traveling again now
Right.
that we can. I mean, knock on wood, that's going to last. And so I think it's been a really fun addition to what we have here. So we appreciate it so much. You being
We
with us.
appreciate you guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay.